Uh, all right, so let's start with some introductions and maybe take 2 or 3 minutes to tell everyone a little bit about you and what you're doing in the education field. So I'll start with you, Zoe.
Thank you, Matt. And thank you so much for organizing this on the fly. You know, this was supposed to be a big event in New York City, and I'm sad that it's not happening for every possible reason. I'm glad you're doing this. So my work is educating people to be solutionaries. And that word is a made-up word, but most people, when they hear it, have a sense of what it means. And I'll just elaborate on that for a minute. So a solutionary isn't just an everyday problem solver. A solutionary is somebody who looks at the root and systemic causes of problems and then strives to solve them in ways that do the most good and the least harm to everyone, to people, to other species, and to the environment which sustains life. So at the Institute for Humane Education, where I work, we train teachers, we have a grad program, we offer loads of free downloadable resources and a solutionary guidebook that's free to help educators to bring this kind of learning to students, which is so relevant and so meaningful. And right now, we need it more than ever.
That was very good, very good. Jorit, let's get an intro to you.
Yes, thank you. I work for Foundation Hero Town, the Netherlands, and we're founded after the Hero Roundtable conference took place here in 2016. And we focus on teaching young people now mainly to be a hero. So we have a 5-lesson plan in which we do mindfulness, bystander training, first aid training, self-defense training. And we also have some online classes and online challenges, which kids nowadays can use very well, especially when they're being homeschooled, just to get them to make the right decisions for themselves. So we try to stimulate them to see what's happening in their environment and making decisions based on what they feel instead of what, you know, society makes them act like, basically.
Thank you. And Nicholas, what about you?
Well, hello. Amazing work you guys are doing. Awesome. Appreciate you guys. I am the co-executive director of the nonprofit Captain Encouragement. It's a superhero-based youth program teaching kids about anti-bullying, teamwork, leadership, and a lot of things that we're kind of hoping that kids learn, but we teach them as superpowers, and we work with the kindergarten to 3rd grade. We feel that age group is really kind of forgotten because everyone's like, oh, they're kids, they'll figure it out. But that's when people kind of adapt and become who they are. Early intervention is what we work in. So prior to current circumstances, we used to do large-scale performances for counties of schools. We had actually a few events that were supposed to take place yesterday. It's going to be 2,200 kids over 3 days of assemblies. And we do getting active events at fairs and festivals with Captain Encouragement. Secret information for everyone, I am Captain Encouragement. Don't tell anyone. And we have a comic book series and all these other resources that go with it. And because of the current circumstances, we switched into creating online videos and creating episodes, basically, with free, printable, downloadable resources based on whatever the curriculum is of the episode. So if it's math or science or imagination or art or music. And we hired a few different people to kind of help us pivot into that space so that we could provide, because the new worry is that kids will be stuck at home. And, you know, this is really pivotal, and I'm worried that this whole generation could be scarred by the effects of being stuck at home, being cognitive enough to know what's happening, but not having the ability to do anything about it. And so that's why we pivoted into this. And our mission is to serve and make humanity better as a whole by serving in the best way that we can. So, yes.
Thank you. So I do want to talk about the challenges of educating kids now, but I want to start with what you have been doing, because the three of you are teaching this stuff in different ways. So Going back to Zoe, you've already mentioned, and Jorit, you did well. You mentioned who you're talking to and how you're delivering it. So Zoe, was there a reason that you want the training teachers to spread it rather than going directly to the kids?
So I did go directly to the kids for many years. I started a program at a nonprofit and in the Philadelphia area, and I would go into schools every day, and we were reaching about 10,000 kids a year, which was great, but it really did feel like a drop in the bucket in the sense that, you know, there's only so many you can reach, and you're only going to be reaching them through a, you know, single presentation, an assembly program. I mean, I did after school programs too, and sometimes courses within schools, but I wanted to really challenge what happened in schools and change what happened in schools. And so when I co-founded the Institute for Humane Education in 1996, which makes me feel very old, the goal was to really advance this humane education movement that provided young people with the knowledge and the tools and the motivation to be solutionaries, to address human rights and animal protection and environmental issues in ways where they were making a difference. And using the standard subject categories and what needs to be taught in school, literacy, numeracy, the scientific method, using those as tools for young people to actually make a real world difference. And the relevancy and meaning involved in that and how empowered students get is really profound. So we created the first graduate program that focused on humane education, linking these issues in the world. And that program is actually offered through Antioch University now, and we have masters, and we're just starting a doctoral program, an EDD program, which is really exciting. And then doing workshops for teachers and providing resources for teachers. But right now, as you were asking about, we are pivoting. And so the solutionary guidebook that we produced for teachers, which is on our website, which is humaneeducation.org, in case anyone's interested, we are actually going to provide this month a youth version and a version for people who want to be solutionaries themselves. It's called How to Be a Solutionary, and you know, it'll be out by the end of the month as soon as we possibly can. I actually had it field tested with some sixth graders. An amazing teacher in Colorado asked some of her sixth graders to review it, and they just have, and I'm gonna take their words to heart and get it to a designer, and it'll be available soon for kids. That's
fantastic. So I'm seeing some familiar faces in the audience. Welcome and thank you for being here. More time zones. If you've got any questions, throw them in the chat and I'll keep an eye on that and pass them on. So Jorit, can you explain a bit more about the methodology of your teaching, how it's happening and what the goals are and why you went that way?
Yeah, definitely. I think we started off with just a 5-point lesson plan for 10 to 12-year-olds. So the last couple of years of primary school. And we wanted to help them practice the skills they were learning, because it was just 5 lessons of an hour and a half. So you won't have enough time to actually teach them, you know, some solid stuff. We wanted to have the kids online practice some of the skills they learned. But we started realizing that it was more important that they were able to practice themselves and do that stuff online and when they're not in the classroom, because then they could do it on their own terms and you know, with their own topics. So I think for us the pivot already started happening before the whole Corona crisis hit, and we've been focusing more on our website, which is, I wrote it down because it's in Dutch, eurotown.nl/nieuwe helden, which means new heroes. I'm trying to create new heroes here. And you can Google Translate the webpage probably to see what kind of challenges we have. We're trying to stay, you know, on top of the news and try to help the children get through a difficult period. They're bored, sick, they don't know what's happening outside, they can't see their friends. but there's a lot of stuff they can do. So we're trying to help them with that.
Beautiful. And Nicholas, what about you? How did you come to be? I know you're doing big assemblies with a lot of performance and dramas, and with younger kids. Why that method? I know you mentioned the reason for the younger kids, but how did you come to build that out?
I think it was looking at the way that kids kind of process information and realizing that we're competing with a lot of things like kids' attention. For one, we're competing for their attention with, video games, YouTube, all these different social media platforms. And so I wanted to create something that was really larger than life. And I'm a giant child myself, so it helps that I kind of understand that. And so working with kids, we found really quickly they like the big, the crazy, over the top. And it wasn't just liking it, but it was memorizing it. Being able to recite it. When we developed the comic book, it took our program to a whole other level because kids were like, oh, remember when you took on this villain and did this? And we're like, whoa, this is really making an impact because we did it in story format. And it's delivering it in the way that kids understand. And that's when we, as of last year, we were planning on filming a movie. We're in the process of developing a movie and a script and all these other things. And we developed all this content along the way, and we decided because of this, we pivoted all those resources into a TV show. And the reason for that we're doing this is because kids respond to it. We're hearing feedback from parents, from teachers, from administrators in the schools, hearing them recite, well, Captain Encouragement taught me this, and showing up in superhero form. And they aren't just seeing this hero on TV, because a lot of us, we look up to our heroes, but when is, Iron Man showing up at our house like, hey, you're doing great. I think you really crushed that math test. Great job. But that doesn't happen. And that's why Captain Encouragement kind of was a necessity, because everyone in cultures around the world understand the hero medium. And as you know, preaching to the choir, but it's something that everyone understands that. And so we created this hero character that would translate the things that we hope kids understand, which is, being kind, being empathetic, being a strong leader, going through situations, because in real life, you can't punch your way through problems. You have to deal with them in these different ways. So we teach them superpowers. And so that's why we transitioned to, the show, is because, using green screen, working with 3D effects, and, the bad guys represent a message. We've been working with a really great 3D artist in Turkey who's developed some really awesome stuff. And that's the content we're really excited to put out in the next, month or so, because we started the YouTube channel. And then we're working with a lot of public access stations to start actually creating full 30-minute episodes over the next month. And we've been receiving funding so that we could teach kids at home, because the first week into this whole epidemic, I got calls from parents and messages from parents saying, we're a week in and we're out of ideas. And we're like, oh no. And so, when you're dealing with K to 3, you need their attention. You have to, that's why we created worksheets and coloring pages and all these other resources. We scrambled. We were working, crazy hours that first couple of weeks. We still are. It's not any less. But just so that we could film it, create awesome content, and then the feedback from that has just been amazing. And that's why we continue to use this superhero medium, because everyone understands it. And whenever you go over the top with the animation, and if you want, I can show you. I actually just pulled up the video of the newest one, which isn't out yet, but it's the math one. And we got an awesome 3D artist. Is it okay if I share that?
You can try. I think it might be turned off to avoid.
Here, I'm going to turn this around and we'll put it right
there
here.
you go. Jorit, hold up your website again so I can type it into the chat.
So this is where Captain has to take on these bad guys.
Just did.
And so we're teaching the math skills through this different levels. And that was kind of it.
Nice.
So so we had that animated, and it's going to be like a whole episode, a whole micro episode with we just hired a teacher out of Portland who's going to be doing our curriculum. My wife, Candace, the co-executive director, has been jamming out content and curriculum, and I've been doing the coloring pages. And we also hired a few artists for the coloring pages, so that it's just constantly free resources for parents and for teachers and for kids because that way a parent can just say, hey, watch this episode. Hey, we'll print this thing out that you just watched on TV, and you get to take part.
That's great. Our national youth broadcaster just announced that they're going to be moving to, I think, 5 hours of content every day.
Nice.
Starting on Monday, I think. So, yeah, it's definitely a time when parents are needing some help figuring out what they're doing. And I know a lot of parents are stressing about thinking that they need to teach for 8 hours a day, which they're just not equipped to do, but they feel that pressure that, hang on, I have to replicate school. So yeah. So what about some success stories of the work that you've been doing? I'll start with Jorit. What are some of the feedback you've received from the kids and from the schools about the teaching, the hero teaching?
Yeah, I think the coolest stuff that we've gotten feedback about is the mindfulness training. We usually start the lesson with like a 5 to 7 minute mindfulness exercise. And in advance, I don't give the lessons that much, but lately I've been doing them a bit more. And in advance, you think the kids are gonna think it's quite silly or stupid or boring, but they're just amazed by it, and they all participate. Even they're really energetic ones, and afterwards they can actually tell that they're better able to concentrate and better able to understand each other. And the teachers think it's very valuable to see that in their own class, because they don't participate, but they're there in the class. So we're trying to teach the teachers while teaching the kids in a way that some small time effort can have quite a big effect on their class. So I think the mindfulness training is really interesting. And then at the end of our 5-day program, we also have this heroic action the children set up themselves. So they can choose out of a set of heroic actions, such as it's just small things. Just write some gift cards for the elderly around the corner, or wear your sweaters to school for a day and turn off the heating. It's just small things, but we believe that if you practice those small things, a lot of times you'll be ready for the big things when the time comes.
Can you talk a little bit more about the mindfulness training that you do with that age? Because I know there's at least 2 parents here with 10-year-old kids that would love some more specific.
Yeah. For example, we do the body scan. So you just sit there, close your eyes, and focus on different parts of your body. And that takes up to 5 minutes, but it works really well. And then we also have one where you imagine sitting on a boat in the middle of a lake, and the waves coming from the boat floating away are connected with your thoughts and feelings and the emotions you're experiencing. We keep reminding them that it's not a problem if they think it's difficult to concentrate, or if they don't feel at ease with the exercise we're doing. They can use the ripples of the water to kind of float their feelings out there and just let them be. And the first time I did that, I had a little stomach cramp, thinking this is not going to work at all. But yeah, what I just said, even the most difficult kids expressed that they like the exercise themselves. So yeah, you could totally do it. Yeah. There's some online tutorials and YouTube videos you can use.
Yeah, that it works quite well. And my kid came out. She's having trouble sleeping generally with not getting all the running around exercise at school and all that sort of thing. So she came out telling me that her eyes couldn't close, that it was too hard to close them. And I did something similar with the instead of the boat in the water, a creek with the ideas that were flowing past, and she could pick them up and examine them and put them back if she needed to, but just to focus on sitting in the grass and watching the creek. And she was asleep in 2 minutes, which was great. But the trick is to now try to get her to do that during the day as well. But that's great to hear. So it's a good thing if you are a parent, and I know there's a few here. Good thing to try out for sure. So Nicholas, what about some of your memorable success stories from the work you've done?
Well, we've had quite a few, even just in the last week. We've seen parents sending in pictures of their kids watching Captain intently on their screen, and different things of kids, because we created a rap song about cleaning, and kids we heard from parents like, yeah, my son's like getting down in there just rapping about fresh house sanitation ritual to clean the house. And so we've heard a lot of really cool stuff from that. One of the stories, I shared at the Hero Roundtable in Michigan was the little girl who had been, bullied throughout the year. And then we came to the school and we performed there. And before we performed there, the mom was like, "Oh, I heard about your program. Please come to our school. My daughter, she's in like 2nd grade. She's being terrorized and she doesn't like going to school." And then after the school assembly where we showed up, we did the presentation, we tell all these stories, that she was empowered enough to go out and basically start a leadership group and get all the kids who were left out of things to like get together and like go hang out with each other and wait for each other at lunch, at the bus stop, and all the kids who were, loners and sad and kind of just left out of games at recess. And we don't view it as like a big thing now as we're adults, but these are like pivotal micro moments that can really shift you as a person and saying, yeah, people care about me. I have value and I matter on this planet. And there's a lot of, that has huge ripple effects. It's like, how they talk about golf, in the beginning, it's those little micro inches in the shot, which determines where the ball ends. And it could be 100 feet difference at the end of it, based on that inch in the beginning. And we heard a story of a mom that was like a month ago sent a message saying that a little girl who had been through the assembly, her brother's in kindergarten, and he was being bullied because he was a heavier set little boy. And the daughter said, "Hey, you know what? You need to cheer up. Captain Encouragement told me that the reason people are bullies is because bullies feel powerless and they need to take it out on you." And she said that she's heard her affirm him that, how great he is, how amazing he is, and that all these different things, and hearing it from, like a 2nd grader, affirming her little brother and saying all these positive things. And they were saying it changed the dynamics of their family, of how they're interacting with each other just based on, a school assembly and a comic book. And so we've heard, story over story in similar cases of, these little kids being, like, "I'm a hero. I do this. Captain Encouragement told me that, being a bully is wrong." And so teaching all these things as really cool. Again, I'm a giant child, so this is really fun. Yeah,
Cool.
we've had a lot of stories like that. Yeah.
And Zoe, what about you? You've, as you said, you've been doing this for a long time. But what about particularly with the solutionary approach? What are some of the successes you've seen there?
Well, before I get into that, I just want to just circle back to some of what we're offering right now because of COVID-19. So we're creating a webinar for teachers and parents and students. So that will be available soon, and anybody can find out about that. Again, just go to our website, sign up, and then you'll be able to find out about that. And I also wanted to say that I was really hoping that Captain Encouragement was going to come in costume today, but it's really great to see you out of costume, Nicholas. So in terms of some of the success stories that are happening right now, so the San Mateo County, California, which is a quite large county that is between San Francisco and Palo Alto, there are 23 school districts. It serves 113,000 students. And they have adopted our solutionary approach as the philosophy and framework for the entire county, which is really exciting. So I know it's so exciting. So the leadership there is just phenomenal, and it's coming right from the county Office of Education. And on March 15th, there was going to be a solutionary expo, and 113 student teams were going to be sharing all of their solutionary work that they'd been doing during the school year at the expo. And of course it was canceled. But the other thing that we are doing, and we were planning to do this anyway, is students can send videos of themselves and their team, and we have a sort of protocol for it that's described in the Solutionary Guidebook. And so they can send those videos to us, and we're going to be curating a Solutionary YouTube channel. And when I say curating it, the goal is to share the most solutionary solutions. And what I mean by that are solutions that really go to the root of a problem. So they're different from humanitarian acts, which of course are so essential and which are the building blocks for later solutionary work. But what we want to highlight is those solutions that really address root and systemic causes and do so in a way that's good for everybody. So that's going to be coming soon. And I guess the last recent success story, and it's unfolding and it's so exciting, is there's a group of teachers in Colorado, in the Denver area, that have totally taken this solutionary idea to heart. And I was supposed to be going out there on April 15th to do a workshop with these teachers and to have a think tank with these teachers. But the thing is, they're such amazing teachers that they're doing it anyway. So we've already had the think tank by Zoom. I'm going to do a webinar with the teachers by Zoom. And they are mentoring their students right now. Like as we are talking, they are mentoring their students doing solutionary work. So it's happening rapidly. The more people who find out about this concept of education, the more excited they get, because it just enlivens the entire curriculum if you're thinking about driving the curriculum toward meaningful real world solutions to problems.
Which is what we are, for sure. So I'll do a little station identification check here because we've had a few more people come in. So that was Zoe Weil from the Institute of Humane Education. We've got Jorit Smits from Hero Town, Netherlands, and Nicholas Domingo, who is Captain Encouragement.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? Because yeah. I just went to gallery view, and one of those teachers that I was just talking about in Colorado is here, and I just have to give her a shout out, Julia Fliss, if you can see her. I mean, the work she's doing is so inspiring to me, and it's her students who are just reviewing the Solutionary Guidebook. So shout out.
Hey, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Zoe. You're awesome. Yeah, I'm listening in. I'm actually like working with my students right now online, but I'm definitely listening, enjoying meeting everyone, and can't wait to see the share out of resources because everything sounds amazing. So thanks for letting me hang in.
Awesome. Thank you. We just got a comment from Andrea Penrose, who's here as well in Australia, up early for this one. So give us a shout out if you like on who you are and where you're watching from. So my question now is, again, there's some parents in the room, and some of the toughest parts of doing this hero education is getting a school to bring the program or the curriculum in. So what is your advice to a parent who might be listening to you today and saying, I want that to happen with my kids, whether that's in the next 6 months online or whether it's when schools go back in person? What are some of the successful ways that you've been able to get into the schools, and how could a parent approach that? We'll start with Nicholas.
Oh, sorry, turn off the mute. For us, we contact the schools, and we've offered a lot of our programs for free. Was just to show that it worked, because I think a lot of organizations will create these one-off things, and with kids, especially our age demographic, 4 to 9, it's repetition. The things you can't just say the message once and leave. That's why we have so many different resources as far as like the different comic books, the posters, because it has to constantly be in their life to remind them. We've contacted a lot of the different schools just kind of directly, and people can actually reach out to us through our Facebook. Our website isn't live right now, but everything is at Call to Inspire. We found that, again, just not to be too redundant, but it is repetition, because the attention span of the kids that we're working with, you really have to drill the message in and make it to where it's their idea. They have to find it on their own. Because I'm a parent, you know, I got a 10 and 14-year-old. If I say, you need to do this, there's a very good chance that that won't get done. Not in like a bad way, but, you know, if they're being drilled with messages and important things all day. So it kind of has to be their idea, which is why we've gone with the route of fun, entertaining, lots of colors, you know, everything that we do. And everything that we are like a part of it's fun. It's their idea. We're not forcing a message at them. We're letting them find it through play, through interaction, through a story. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that. For a lot of parents, you know, finding us on Facebook is every Monday. We're doing a live Getting Active with Captain, where we do an exercise at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on our Facebook, facebook.com/call-to-inspire, where Captain takes them through about 30 minutes of stretching and physical fitness, you know, hero stretches. And we also do the episodes. We're launching micro episodes every single day. And each one of the YouTube links is a link to a drive folder where you can just pull up all the different files and print them yourself. And
right.
that's our things.
So, and one of the things that after the Hero Roundtable in Michigan, Captain Encouragement was on the stage, and a parent who worked at the hotel that we stayed at, who wasn't able to get out to see it, your what do you call it? Your pledge.
Oh, a pledge of positivity. Yeah.
Pledge of positivity. and this kid has put it up on his wall, and every morning gets up and reads the pledge before leaving.
Yes.
That's
I saw that.
It's a real testament to the power of this approach. So, so for a parent, how would they go about getting you into the school? Let's say again in 6 months' time. Obviously, you've got the resources online now, but coming up when things get back, what's the best way for them to make that happen? Is it to go to the school and tell them to go to you? Is it to go to you to tell you they want you at the school?
Well, we've realized it's a little different per school, because every school is completely different. We've worked with schools that they're their own independent district, and we've worked with districts that have 10, 20, 100 schools underneath them. So each one's different. I think reaching out to us first would be best, and then we can either contact the school and see what the school would like for the most part, or they could reach out to the school. But I know, especially when everything gets back to normal, there's going to be a lot of queue time of they're like, well, we have to catch up on all of this and restructure. So I think if you reach out to us, primarily everything, right now our website's under construction, so it forwards to our Facebook. Everything, or captainencouragement@gmail is probably the best way to contact us. I think that's one of the best routes, is because I'm aware even schools are super busy, which is why we've tried to offer our programs to schools and try to do a lot of the legwork for them, is because they're busy trying to cultivate society. So we're trying to help out the best way we can. So contacting us would definitely be the best way, and then we'll communicate with the school.
Okay. And Jorit, what about you? What if you're in the Netherlands? It's an obvious response, but are you open to going outside of the Netherlands as well? How would people get you in to do what you're doing?
Well, we're always open to anything, but in the Netherlands, generally, we would go to the teachers themselves. You can apply to the school board or go through the parents, but usually the teachers have a lot of freedom to decide what programs are and aren't going to take place in their classes. And we also try to look for teachers that are interested in us instead of just trying to force the program onto any school. You just see that, you know, when they're willing to take your message and use it, the program's so much more effective. And they keep, you know, rehearsing it after you're gone. So we're just trying to spread the fire from enthusiastic teacher to enthusiastic teacher and make them kind of, you know, find us. But the parents have been helpful as well. You know, when a parent says, "Hey, why aren't we doing anything in this category?" then the teachers start thinking about it. And we've also had some schools that already had programs that are quite similar to ours. And we see that there's just less effect because a lot of stuff the kids already know. So we're trying to see where the lowest hanging fruit is and and get there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But whenever we're ready to go international, we'll go.
Yeah.
When we can fly again.
And so that's been your approach for some time, is finding those excited, enthusiastic teachers. How would a parent go about getting humane education into their school or for their kid?
Well, given that parents are home right now with their kids, I want to say that everything that we offer teachers right now, parents can use. So we have this free resource center on our website, and the solutionary guidebook is just as useful for parents who have kids at home as it is for teachers. And there are loads of activities and lesson plans that are short but really juicy. And so, parents can just avail themselves of that on our website right now as if they were teachers. And the thing about being a solutionary is it's very student driven. It's not as if we are not advocating for teachers to be telling students, solve this problem. We're advocating for teachers to be inspiring young people to find out about what issues they're most passionate about, and then collaborating on solving them and learning how to do the research and the investigation and the connecting with stakeholders and finding out what's been done so far, really doing that work in collaboration through mentoring by the teacher, but not through the teacher directing it. And so for parents right now, if they mentor their children to do this, their children can take on the mantle of, this incredibly exciting, albeit, weighty responsibility of solving problems, but very empowering work. And so, for parents who want this work in their schools, introducing our work to the administration and to teachers is a great way of doing it. But right now, I think I just want parents to know we're here for you too.
And the first step for a parent then on your site is the solutionary handbook. Would that be the first thing to do?
I think that, yes, I think downloading the solutionary guidebook is probably the first step, and reading it and then thinking about, what your child is able to do with that. It's really, the guidebook is really focused on kind of middle school and up. And then I would say just go to the resource center and look at all the activities. I mean, if their child is passionate about the environment, we have loads of activities for environmental issues. If they're passionate about animals, we have that. If they're passionate about human rights and social justice, we have that. If they're passionate about all of them, we have those intersections woven into many of the activities.
So on that passion part, so my kid has been exposed to a lot of young solutionaries through Hero Roundtable, and often gets frustrated that she hasn't got a thing that she's doing, and she struggles to find it, has struggled to find a topic that she's passionate about. How do you get kids to think through that or handle that?
Great question. So there are three primary questions that I think a solutionary in making can ask themselves. One is, what do I care about? What am I passionate about? What issues in the world concern me? When I hear about something that upsets me, what is that thing that upsets me? And then the next question is, what do I love to do? And then the third question is, what am I good at? Now, children don't know all the things they love to do yet. They don't know all the things they're good at. I'm 58. I don't know the answer to those things fully yet either. We're always learning that. But they know some of the things they love to do, and they know some of the things that they're good at. And I'm not talking about, oh, I'm good at math, or I'm good at penmanship, or I'm talking about the whole breadth of things we can be good at. I'm good at making friends. I'm good at making people laugh. I'm a good dancer. I'm good when people are arguing, at helping people see different sides of things. There are all different ways we can be good at something. And if you can find the place where things you care about and what you're good at and what you love to do meet, then you're on the path. So there are really three questions to ask. And I would say that for your daughter, really inviting her to not feel a pressure to find a project. This isn't about a project to take on. This is about just finding out what you care about. And, you know, you as a parent can probably, you probably know that. You probably see it all the time in her. What does she care about? And then you can invite her to take the next steps on what does that care look like in your community or in the world or, you know, wherever.
Fantastic. So one of the things that impressed me about the Hero Town Netherlands formation was how well you guys created a team and started executing. So Jorit, one of the things that a solutionary needs, I think, is a team, is that not necessarily a close-knit team to run the project, but they need that support. Have you got any tips on how to make that happen, and maybe particularly in today's next 6 months, how we can bring people to our side and make that hero team to make something happen?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think, you know, the team is the biggest challenge you have. It's so difficult to put all that time and energy, especially when you're young, you just start on your career, you don't have a steady income yet, and you still want to do something. So I think it's very important to get people that know they're going to be able to put some time in. And for us, it really helped that we kind of co-organized the Hero Roundtable in the Netherlands, or at least help with some aspects of it. So we were already invested, you know, in the thought for a bit. So that momentum kept us going even when things weren't looking too great. And that really built the team around us. So it was also a bit situational, I guess. But what I think is most important for the next couple of months is that you look for the people who just are willing to invest time. I think that's the biggest deal, because you can be really motivated. We had some really motivated people, but they weren't just not able to invest like 3 or 6 months of their lives unpaid into our foundation. And you really needed to do that in order to succeed. So I think that's the most important. Just have the time.
Right. And Nicholas, you've done a lot of, or you've produced a lot with sort of gig workers and help from outside, and knowing what you can do and making sure that the things that you aren't maybe great at, you've got experts coming in to do. So how do you find them and trust them and attract them to the project?
I think it's there's a lot of freelance services online to find people to help you complete your project, but I think a lot of it is connecting and finding what your resources are, establishing what you're passionate about and what your capabilities are. I know all of us could sit down and do every aspect of all of our jobs, but we would burn ourselves out, and then you wouldn't love what we do. I think if you put it out there, I think that's part of being a change maker and creating impact, is establishing, who needs the help, where is the help needed, where are the resources, what can you do to kind of connect all the different pieces, how do you find your way there. So I'm very social about everything. As far as Facebook, I ask for help. I think that's one of the hardest things to get over, is just being vulnerable and saying, hey, we're struggling, or hey, we really need help. It's hard because we're the leaders, and we have to really showcase that we know what we're doing. But that's been one of the things that my wife has been very helpful in helping me establish that as a person, is because we're taught we're the leaders, we're the ones leading the charge, making a difference. But admitting what you're not good at, admitting what you need help in, admitting and coming to the ability to ask for help. I think people are really willing to help, especially right now, understanding that a lot of us are stuck at home. A lot of us have these amazing talents. We have all these people around the world that have talents beyond belief, and just asking for assistance, being vulnerable enough to, share where you're at.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Can I reply to that, Matt?
Yeah.
Because I feel you really hit the spot there, Nicholas. When we started helping around with the Hero Roundtable organization, Natalie, which partnered up with Matt to organize it, asked me to do the catering and look for a food concept and where we used waste food, just so food that was still good for consumption but not going to be sold, to serve lunch with. And at first, you have these big corporations, you email them, you ask them, do you have any leftovers? And they're really hesitant to help. But then when you just pry a little bit further, actually, they think it's a really good idea to and just want to partner up. And we had some really big companies in our hometown that partnered up and sponsored us with a lot of food, so we could do the lunch practically for free. And
That's awesome.
I think just when you dare to ask for help and dare to show your vulnerability, there's a lot more willingness than you would expect, even from the big companies, and not just all for PR marketing, but also because they also want to do good. And the same goes for the smaller companies and for individuals. When you ask help, you'll probably get it. With the Corona crisis going on in my hometown, there's this Facebook page that says Corona Help Nijmegen. Within a day or two, there were 3,000 people in there. Well, there's only 160,000 in my town. And we've just been so overwhelmed with people willing to help and starting up small projects and handing out food and, doing shopping for the neighbors and sending 100 postcards to a kid that's alone on his birthday. It's enormous. We underestimate the willingness to help, I think.
Can you paste a link to that Facebook group in the chat? You all right?
I'll try.
Just a reminder, we've got about 10 minutes left. If you've got a question, please feel free to ask. These three have never been together before, and who knows when they'll be together again. So let us know your questions. Zoe, that sounds like it's a big part of the solutionary training as well, right? Is asking for help, getting people to support the actions, whatever it is you do. How do you recommend that? Jorit?
Well, so the whole solutionary concept is very collaborative. So in order to, be a successful solutionary, you have to learn from others. If you're going to address a problem and you think you're going to address the problem in isolation from all the others who have tried to address that problem and all the stakeholders, of which there are so many more than we usually see. So in the solutionary guidebook, for example, we look at the rise of type 2 diabetes among children as the problem that we are addressing. And initially, when you think about who are the stakeholders going to be, well, they're going to be, kids, families, hospitals, but the stakeholders are so much bigger than that, because as you look at the complexity of that problem, you realize that there are so many food systems which relate to our economic system, which relate to our energy system, which then relate to our ecosystem and other species. And you realize there are a lot of stakeholders here. There's so much to learn. So going into this work requires a tremendous amount of humility and recognition that you probably don't know nearly as much as you think you do, even if, your issue is something you're passionate about. And so, I'm stretching that concept of what it means to ask for help, but what it really means is that you are diving in to learn and investigate and become so deeply knowledgeable that when you get to the point where you're striving to find a solution, you're going to find good leverage points, and you're going to solve that problem without having terrible unintended negative consequences, which are so common when we go to solve a problem. So I think that's all I want to say. It's just so collaborative, and it has to be by definition.
Yeah, so we just got a question from Diane, which is good timing as well. She was asked a question yesterday from a 13-year-old student, and it was, how do we remain brave? Have you guys got any thoughts on how to remain brave for a teenager at this time?
If I may, I think part of it is it's also okay to not be brave. I think through this, people are starting to develop this thing that it's okay, it's fine, everything's gonna be fine. But you need to also allow yourself to feel like this is a scary situation. It's okay to feel the down, but understand that like all things in life, you know, the downs come with like ups, and remembering, you know, control what you can control, work on what you can work on. I think being brave is there is a lot of pressures that will come with this, of saying, all right, everybody, I need you all to toughen up. We're going to make it through this. There is that part of it, but there is a part of saying, you're 13. It's okay to be scared, because there's not a lot. Because I think they need to understand that it's okay for both. Otherwise, they're going to be like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not brave enough. And then there's never a way out of that hole. I think, you know, just reminding them, like, you're doing great. Like, emphasize where the greatness is coming. Like, oh, you did a great job. Like, our boys of just 10 and 14, like, you did great helping us dig the mounds for the broccoli. You did such a good job, you know, nailing in and pulling apart the staples for the chicken coop. You've done all these things, and they've been, you know, busting their buns, but it's okay to also be scared. It's that you need both.
Any
like
other thoughts?
Yeah, I'd love to jump in on Diane. What I can only imagine being asked that in a room full of 200 children. I think that bravery is one very beautiful quality among humans, but it's one of many, and not everybody has to be brave. I agree with Nicholas in saying that. What we want to be careful of is we don't want young people to feel despair. We don't want them to feel terror. We don't want them to feel so much grief and sorrow that they can't act. And so I would say we can let go of bravery and focus on, I'm going to give you 3 quotes that are really powerful to me. The first one comes from Joan Baez, the singer-songwriter, she said, action is the antidote to despair. And that has absolutely been true in my life. And so whether or not that child feels brave doesn't matter. They can be holed up at home and as safe as possible and still do good work from home. And that action will stave off despair. And another similar quote is from Professor David Orr, who said, hope is a verb with its sleeves rolled up. So again, you don't have to be courageous to roll up your sleeves. You can roll up your sleeves in very safe ways. And then the final one comes from Greta Thunberg, who said, when we act, hope is everywhere. I might be getting that slightly wrong. It was in her TED Talk. And so I always encourage action as a way, and action could be writing a poem, it could be doing a play, it could be something very creative where we're expressing maybe some of our fears, but also expressing our hopes and giving a light to others. So that's my answer.
That's great. Jorit, have you got anything to add there?
Yeah, I think you're both right on the spot there. For me, heroism and taking action is something that can be done on all levels. So what you kind of said before is the response that you have to a stressful situation. You don't have to take charge and solve everything. Especially when you're small, we try to make kids see that no matter how small they are, there's always something you can do. You know, and it goes from when there's bullying going on, you can you don't have to intervene, but you can talk to your classmates about who's going on being a bystander next to it, and just telling them that you don't think it's okay. And you can also intervene by getting an adult when you think the situation is too threatening for you, or when there's an accident happening on the street. We teach kids in our first aid class that they can call 911 and how they're supposed to call 911. And then there's an adult on the other side of the line that is talking you through the whole process. So you don't have to remember everything you need to do. You just need to call and give them the information they're asking you. So a lot of kids think they're not allowed to call 911 when they see an accident happening. We just give them some small practice calling 911 with headsets on and a classmate next to them, but they just know what questions that are going to be asked. So I think it's really important to show everyone that small actions are always possible, even on your small scale.
That's fantastic advice. And I think another way to talk to a kid about being brave is to, especially if they have a sibling, is to help someone else be brave, to help, or even their parents, because I think with a 13-year-old, they're probably aware of the stress that their parents are feeling as well. So giving them that power or that agency to help someone else be brave might be a good way to continue that as well. So any other questions before we go? We've got a few minutes. I actually don't know if the Zoom closes automatically because it was scheduled for an hour. Any Zoom experts here, or does it just keep going until I close it?
It'll just keep going.
Okay.
I thank all of you for those responses. And I have to say, Nicholas, when you said, you know, say to the child, you don't have to be brave. I actually got teary-eyed at that, because it goes for adults as well. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Any other thoughts from the crowd? It's really good seeing your friendly faces there. All right, well, might leave it there. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Jorit. Thank you, Nicholas, for being here. Thanks for staying up, Jorit. I appreciate it. And we'll see you all again when we can. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt,
Thank
for
you,
hosting and for
everybody.
inviting us.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
We'll talk soon.
Bye,
Cheers.
guys. Keep up the
Cheers.
great work, everybody.